Alright, guys. We're gonna have to have a talk about Sparkle. Because it seems like no one understands how a villain is written when it comes to a story, a narrative. And so I guess it's gonna fall on me to explain why a villain is a villain. So before we jump into this, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Hitting that like button helps get the video out there, and hitting that subscribe button helps out the channel. So please, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. Now, what happened? Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about Sparkle? Well, on Twitter, after the Pinacone story for Honkai Star Rail had taken place, this cute girl has revealed that she is pretty devious. She is a 100% villain, at least right now in the story, based on how she has portrayed herself. And so we're going to be having to talk about Sparkle. So, how did this start? Well, on Twitter, everyone has been having a back and forth about Sparkle's character. And in some cases, it's basically how she is being a villain. So, let's read this post here. And the reason I'm pointing it out is because it has quite a few views. So, looking back at it, Sparkle did not have to say all that. I don't like Aventurine, but I think a simple get the fuck out would have been better than getting racist on him. So this person's issue is more so about how she has portrayed herself as a villain. And my response was, Sparkle is a little brat who enjoys being antagonistic. She's a character who enjoys chaos. She doesn't give a damn about the feelings of others. Why do you think she did what she did to Sunday? Spoilers. She was trying to emotionally manipulate him by using his sister. This is good character development for setting up an immoral villain who relishes in chaos. And I am going to get into how this is being perceived. And then there were other comments down below. Sparkle was so mean for no good reason. So if Aventurine is a little weird, I'm not really a fan of Sparkle. When a character isn't, and then again, this is just back and forth. When a character isn't a perfect sunshine and is actually a bad person. People in the comments need to realize it's okay to dislike a character's actions and criticize the fact that said weird shit in the quest. The low keys. And it's just back and forth. Back and forth. So let me point out the comment that was made by Sparkle. Here we go.
Are you from Sigonia?
Need another hint? I'm an Avgen.
My eyes might not be as pretty as yours, but there's no problem with my vision. You Sigonians are notorious throughout the entire universe. Liars, thieves, social manipulators, wolves in sheep's clothing. You're really living up to the reputation. I say, you belong to the space under the manhole cover, not in a dream. There's one right over there. Off you go.
I'll pass. The gloomy shade of a place like that just wouldn't go with my vibe. Dreamville is frivolous, vain, and flashy, and that suits me just fine. Also, it never rains here.
So as you can see, she gets pretty devious and just outright cruel when it comes to how she views Aventurine here. And Aventurine is no saint either. Aventurine is what I would categorize as a lawful evil type character who kind of borderlines on the anti-hero level. But definitely I would say lawful evil. Whereas Sparkle here falls more onto chaotic evil, and again, I will get into this. But I want to lay down the groundwork of just showing you guys examples of her type of villainy. Now, how? How do I know that Sparkle, besides what we just saw here, Sparkle is a straight up villain. Let's go to Star Rail themselves. In the official Honkai Star Rail website with Sparkle's character description, we can surmise what kind of villain she is. A member of the Masked Fools, an organization that's just bent on chaos. I mean, I'm literally just pounding it home at this point. Inscrutable and unscrupulous. A dangerous master of theatrics engrossed in playing roles. A woman of countless masks and able to wear endless faces. Wealth, status, power, none of this matters to Sparkle. The only thing that can get her to move is amusement. So the only thing that Sparkle gives a shit about is just theatrics and amusement. Simply put. Now, let me drive home these two words right here, inscrutable and unscrupulous. Let's look at these words. Inscrutable. Impossible to understand or interpret. So there is no logic, like any coherent logic to her actions. The only thing you can surmise from that is she just does whatever she wants. There's no point in even trying to think, put any logic behind her reasoning. That's what I'm trying to say. She just does what she wants. And then the other key word is unscrupulous. Having or showing no moral principles, not honest or fair. She is, as I said in my reply to this dude, she is a immoral villain who relishes in chaos. That is the perfect definition of her character. I will repeat it one more time. An immoral villain who relishes in chaos. That is Sparkle's villainy. And the thing is that there are many types of villains. And when I say types of villains, I mean several types of villains. Sparkle's type of villainy would fall under anarchist. Someone who just wants to break rules for the fun of it. You want to know a type of villain who falls under that category? A very popular villain, the Joker. In fact, I would say Hanabi gets a lot of quirks that have been inspired by the Joker. The Joker is a theatric villain. He's all about making things a spectacle to get whatever he wants. And whatever he wants is whatever he wants at the time. The Joker is the exact definition that he shares with Sparkle. Inscrutable. Impossible to understand or interpret. Unscrupulous, showing no moral principles, and is not honest or fair. The Joker just does whatever the fuck he wants. If you look at the Joker's history of his villainy, there are a lot of things that he did that were completely immoral. Why? Because he wanted to. Because he was playing an antagonistic role. And that is a villain and an antagonist. But let me drive into the other point that was made about Sparkle, which is the racism. Now, racism in the history of storytelling is a thing. Why is racism a thing in storytelling? Because racism is a thing that we deal with in our everyday lives. And that's the thing. Storytelling is always taking from branches of reality. And unfortunately, racism is a thing that we all deal with in our everyday lives, whether it directly impacts us or indirectly impacts us. But we've all seen racism in some form or fashion. And trust me, I wish we didn't, because it's just an unfortunate thing in reality. But when it comes to racism in a story, we've seen it countless times. And when we're dealing with a space adventure with different types of species and races, you're bound to see racism. I'll give you a big point, a big case of it. Welcome to Mass Effect, a space adventure single-player story. And the Krogans are a huge example of this because the Krogans in Mass Effect were heavily scrutinized, heavily discriminated against. Because of their brutality, their abrasiveness, their abrasive nature, they were heavily discriminated against. And it got so bad that it was almost kind of unfair. And it took our main character, depending on our decisions we made throughout the story, to do something about them. Whether it be to their benefit or not. But there are also other cases of racist villains in storytelling. We'll jump to a very iconic villain, Frieza. Frieza was racist against the Saiyans, and possibly other races too. But Frieza was just heavily racist to the Saiyans, and even going so far as to call them the slur monkey. Another villain in media is Horty Jones. Horty Jones in the Fishman Island arc of One Piece, his whole deal was being racist towards humans because he believed humans were racist toward the fishmen. It was a case of Horty Jones being racist because he believed the mortals, the humans, were being racist towards him. But the thing is, it's what Horty Jones never realized, and this is the whole thing when it comes to storytelling, when you're dealing with racist characters, is that by generalizing a whole group, you are being racist. It's not, you can't fault the group for the wrongdoings that were done to you. It usually always comes down to one individual. And now, one last case of racist villains. Homelander and Stormfront from the Boys series. This one's pretty easy. Made by Nazis is a Nazi. Is a Nazi because he was made by Nazis. Super easy. If you're dealing with Nazis, in typical fashion, you were dealing with racist. But this is going to lead me to my point. If a character is unscrupulous, you expect her to not cross the line when the definition is no moral principles. Racism is immoral. And so, of course, a character that happens to be the definition of unscrupulous to lack any moral values. So keep in mind, I am not advocating for Sparkle. What I am trying to lay down the groundwork for is that villains, by their very nature, are bad guys. Bad guys typically have no moral values. Sparkle is not the case. A villain like Obito or Pain, where they're doing what they're doing because they believe that they're trying to fight for a future that no one understands. These types of villains are the types of villains that have some type of moral clarity. You just have to dig for it. And usually that moral clarity comes from their backstory. And some of the best types of villains are villains that you eventually understand where they're coming from. Sparkle, like the Joker, again, we fall back to this definition. Inscrutable and unscrupulous. So that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. Is that she's not supposed to be the morally ambiguous character that you are wanting to find in the villains like Obito and Pain. She is the type of villain who just wants, as the saying goes, wants to see the world burn. And you can't find any rational thought in a villain who just wants to see the world burn. And the fact that you guys are, and I'm not saying all of you guys, but the people that are flipping out over the whole comments that she made, you gotta understand, you're dealing with a bad guy here. And when I see a bad guy say things like this, of course it's detestable. Of course it's just disgusting. But you gotta also understand that, of course she said that. She is unscrupulous. She has no moral principles. So am I going to expect a person, a character who has no moral principles to not cross the line of detestable things like racism? No, I'm not going to be surprised. So, this right now, what we are witnessing is a case of good writing. We are telling the story of a villain who is a detestable being. And we're going to get what we get when we deal with a unscrupulous character. So I just wanted to make this video. I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to explain to you guys that there are different types of villains. And she is the type of villain who falls under chaotic evil. So when you see Sparkle say, do, and just act out just vile, diabolical deeds, remember, she falls in line with a type of villain like the Joker. If you can expect Joker to do a lot of vile, disgusting things, more than likely Sparkle is going to fall right in line with the Joker. So that's my thoughts. Hope you guys have had a good day so far. Hope you guys enjoyed the Pinacone story, and I'll catch you guys later.